The Dwarves have made an unholy alliance for victory and honor. Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Jackie Fish, and welcome back to some more Total War Rise of Mordor. We are diving in with an epic 4 vs 3 online battle. This one should be super exciting, and as you can see, we already have a sally out from the Noldrin horses of the elves along with the Gondorians, looking to put pressure on their nemesis, the Dwarves. So it should make up for a really exciting battle as the cavalry wrap around and just hammer in. We'll actually jump on board, and then we'll take a nice little look at the actual, factions and setups. But obviously, this sally forth is going to be really interesting. Always a nice move to try and do this. Obviously, it's expensive and can be quite costly, especially if you don't kill anything super valuable. But being able to get charges in and you disrupting the enemy assault is always a big plus in my books. The Gondorians about to come in and help their allies as well. We'll jump on board with them really quickly and watch from their point of view as they hit this Dwarven unit from the rear. And again, I think a lot of the things that people do make, when they do a sally out like this, is they still kind of overcommit. Like, they could just do this and fall back, and it's probably made, been worth it. So we'll have to see if they do end up kind of not overcommitting to this, as we get another charge right there as well. More of the Elven cavalry smashing in to the Dwarves. However, spears are now starting to be committed, and that's going to obviously help them out that little bit more. But one of the reasons I love sallying out is because it really disrupts the attackers, like, pretty massively. Like, right now, the attackers are having to, like, they're sending over, 5 units of infantry over here to try and block this out. They're sending over missiles. All whilst that's going on, we have the siege towers being pushed up, so these assaults are going to be really disorganized. So, it's just a very interesting tactic. As I said, it can be kind of expensive because this cavalry does go for, like, 1,000 gold. If that's like out of your 20,000, then that can be really painful. But again, if you take the enemy off guard, you take out some missiles, you take out some infantry, then it's always pretty good. So let's speed up the camera again, and you can see the players are being smart. They realize that they've done their damage now. There's a handful of kills on them, nothing too crazy, but they've disrupted the assault, and they're just going to pull back now and wait to use this cavalry at a later period, which I think is super smart. So let's go ahead and check out the armies that are being brought today. This is a dysfunctional battle, as we do have good and evil on the same team. I don't normally love to do that, but this was told me to be a very epic siege battle. So, epic siege battles trump the disorganization of good and evil. So on the far right hand side, we have the Dwarven army, all manner of infantry. We've got halberds, actually kind of a less of an elite Dwarven army. I say that as I finally find the Tomb Wardens and also the Mansion Reclaimers, so I take that back fully. The Dwarves are stocked to the teeth with elite infantry. Supporting them on their left hand side, we do have an army from Isengard, all the Uruk-hai mounted up, crossbows, heavy infantry, it. And then we got some more of the dwarfs here as well. Another contingent of the dwarfs there, some spear guard along with some archers from the Red Mountain, and then behind there we have the rest of the Isengard roster. Again, the berserkers, always looking so goddamn good. One of my favorite models in the entire game. And I hope they actually do get some bonuses, because I feel like the berserkers never really perform as well as I would like them to in these battles. As we continue to move over to the next player, we do have the forces of the Woodland Realm, situated in the woods of this desert town, which is always pretty cool. So, you guys already know that. The Woodland Realm have a fairly small roster at the moment, so you guys have probably seen that a million times, so we won't dwindle on them. And then finally, on the far extreme left, we do have a Rohan pushing their way forward. All manner of, garrisons of a Hornburg. This unit looks great. One of the newest factions to be added to Rise of Mordor. And you can see them being pushed up, and obviously you can keep an eye on the battle in the top right as well. I like to keep this map fairly large so you guys can see everything. We also have some of the guards of the Golden Hall as well. They're highest tier spear infantry, which is always pretty interesting. And it'd be cool to see how they do fare in a battle like this, where they can't utilize their cavalry as effectively as you would obviously hope in a faction like Rohan. They don't get access to as many different types of shock infantry. They don't get access, I don't think they actually get any shock infantry. They don't get access to a lot of stuff like that. Then defending, we'll go through it very quickly, as the siege towers have now arrived, and we've got another sally out right here. We do have obviously the Linden elves supporting them. We have the forces of Mordor with Gondor Mordor backing them up as well. So it's Mordor, Gondor, and the elves defending, and we have the dwarves, the Woodland Realm, Isengard, and Rohan all attacking. But let's just dive into the battle and see what it is what we have in store for us today. And obviously, you guys, if you want to see more battles like this, you've been enjoying these scenario battles, make sure you go ahead and drop a like and a comment down below. Really helps out the channel, and definitely will make me do more Rise of Mordor battles, whether it's these kind of more one-off battles or it's more of the scenario battles that we've been seeing on the channel recently. I've been having a ton of fun doing them and covering the mod. So is that cavalry going to come out? The cavalry has come out. Perfect. And they've just smashed into Rohan, immediately taking a lot of missile fire. And we've got some more infantry being pushed up here as well. The spearmen able to get in there. The elves are pulling back quickly. Obviously going to take some casualties as they try and do that. Obviously the missile fire coming in. Going to do some serious damage as well. But again, just really trying to disrupt that. They are also bringing the Prince Theodred, so Theoden's son's cavalry, a little bit too close. They need to be careful because these towers could start to do some damage on them. And the elves are turning around, looking to maybe try and get a kill on Theodred, as he has overextended a bit. Obviously, there's still a lot of missile fire coming in. But not, you know, it wouldn't be a worst thing in the world. Obviously, Theodred's cavalry is extremely elite, and I definitely did not click to move in on that unit. Is very elite. But luckily, he is being supported by the spearmen. And I think, you know, because the elves have decided to basically commit to this fight, this is going to be their, you know, their tomb right here. They're going to pull out, but at this point, they're going to be pretty nullified. You see a lot of the units in there getting stuck as they do try and retreat. So I think that's going to really hamper their ability. Yeah, moving back here, got 20 men in that unit, 20 elves in that unit, and 15 in the other. They've basically been dealt with. It's a shame that they didn't have any archers on the walls, because the archers on the walls would have actually done a lot of damage to this fight. And Theodred is pretty much untouched at this point, losing hardly any of his soldiers. Obviously, we still have the towers shooting, but they're not going to be able to do enough damage. So overall, unfortunately, that cavalry was a bit squindered at the end of that, but still pretty good to begin with. As we go down on the other side of the battlefield, the dwarves are now finally making planetfall on the walls, with axemen charging up and met by the Gondorians as they prepare themselves for a battle to the death. We do obviously also have numbers-wise as well, if you guys are interested. 8,500 attackers going up against 6.1 thousand defenders. So a nice 2,000 man advantage. And obviously, do keep in mind, they do have an extra player as well. So the advantage is firmly in favor of the attackers. But I imagine they would have obviously given the defenders a bit more money to make up for that. And a nice move here as well. Obviously, one of the classic tactics we always love to see is the Gondorian archers volleying in onto the walls. They are actually a bit far away here, but seemingly not too bothered. They're going to be just ranging some shots over the walls and getting some good side shots off into the dwarves. Obviously, there's no protection here, so the arrows that do find their way in find themselves right on the other side of that shield and obviously in the side of the armor. So the dwarves are going to be committing, you know, a fair amount of their axe infantry up here. See the arrow fire coming. Actually, some counter arrow fire, I assume, from the crossbows. Yeah, the crossbows. Or these are the elves. The elves, actually, no, these are the these are the dwarven archers. Archers of Red Mountain coming in and just trying to soften this up. But I feel like a lot of friendly fire is being kicked off here. And the dwarves have somehow found themselves surrounded as they come off of this siege tower. So I think more reinforcements here are going to be desperately needed. Along the rest of the wall, we have just an all-out brawl as the elves push their way forward. And it is actually quite cool to see the defenders holding these walls as elf fights elf in this brutal civil war. Rivendell elves against the elves of the Woodland Realm. Because a lot of the time, the defenders just don't see the value in holding these walls. They just find themselves getting overrun too quickly, which is obviously a valid strategy. But it is very nice to see them actually taking a stand and committing a lot to these walls. And I think when you've got a faction like Mordor backing you up, you definitely can do that, because Mordor have so many soldiers in their units that they can kind of sit back and kind of cover the positions where you need them to be covered. We do have the battering ram out here, the axes smashing down this open gate as we love to see it, and we have some of the Noldrin swordsmen moving into position with more Urk Thrung up here ready to push down and cover obviously any of the assaults that happen. We have some archers up here, some yeomen of a mark volleying in, and I think they've probably been enough to scare off the archers. Yeah, the archers are pulled back along with the rest of the cavalry. Ooh, and we have a Servants of the Eye back here as well. This is an extremely deadly cavalry unit. So that's going to be very, very useful. And I think you can make cavalry work in sieges. We also have another unit of 7th VI back here as well. Pretty good defense back here. Some artillery, a lot of halberds, some missiles. So a nice position to fall back on. But right now, these archers are just working overtime. The Noldrin archers looking for positions, obviously, just to help in. And they're doing a pretty good job so far at whittling down the elves. Again, as you can see, the Uruks have 190 orcs in a unit. The elves only have 100 in that one, and their shock infantry, I think, is 90. So Mordor is just such a good faction to deal with the elves. They can pin them down and basically just, slow them. Make it so that they can't outflank. Make it so that they're just pinned down in places. And then you can hammer them with arrows. You can outflank them with your shock infantry. I imagine it's going to be even more deadly when you finally get trolls as Mordor as well. But it's obviously going to take quite a lot to actually break these guys down to begin with. The elves able to, definitely hold their own against pretty much anything in the game. Having the fewest numbers, but the best quality is always a good thing to rely on. And obviously when you're being backed up by other elves as well, as the Linden elves come in, they help out. That should definitely give them some bonuses. As you can see, the elves just decapitating that woodland realm right there. Able to get in. Obviously, there's just such a perfect unit to really deal with the spearmen. Hammered by missile fire as well. We obviously have the elves back here as well. Firing in. That's going to be doing a lot of damage as well. And you also got some archers back here. Some Uruk archers. And another unit of Uruk archers here. Moving into position. And then obviously they're going to be volleying in. So really looking to try and pin down these positions and make the enemy pay. On the left-hand side, we are seeing more reinforcements being added in, but that sheer amount of missile fire coming in has really, really hampered the assault. 50 kills on that unit of archers. We've got some Pelargir Marines back here as well. And it does seem like they are kind of struggling to break through this as the Citadel Guard actually mount their way onto the walls, looking to help out defeat the Dwarven kin. But this is obviously always going to have to be the case. They need to be the ones who are able to, prevent this and make the attackers pay. Obviously, as we know, the attackers have plenty of men to throw forward, having that 2,000-man advantage. So really relying on that. And oh my god, here we go. The Berserkers jumping into battle. Elendine as they fly in, and this is a perfect unit for them to fight as well. The Citadel Guard, an extremely heavily armored, a low damage unit. This is great for the Berserkers. And they're also fairly protected from missile fire as well, because obviously there's Citadel Guard in the way of them. So this is really good for them. And they should be having a pretty good time of things. Everything considered. Because they can use their high AP, they can use their damage to cut through a fairly expensive unit and not really have to receive too much damage in return. So great move here by the attackers to commit a unit exactly where they need to. Nice move there indeed. Taking a look at the overall battlefield as well, you can see there are still plenty of reserves left remaining. We've got pretty much two of the armies holding back a lot of their reinforcements. The elves are even situated. They've got a lot of ammunition left, keeping these 4 arrows, completely stocked, nice and back. We also have some artillery pieces as well. I mean, honestly, breaking some of these walls would be great at this point. It does seem like the attackers have committed the defenders have committed a lot of their forces to defending these walls. So I think making a breach right now of this artillery would be awesome, whether it's here, whether it's, kind of closer to where these guys are, and you can just rush through. Would be very, very deadly. Now you can start to see as the Berserkers have broken their way through the Citadel Guard unit, they're now obviously being the main focus of the Gondor archers, which is obviously to be expected. But they've kind of done their job now, breaking through, opening up the breach point. Got some more of the Dwarves as well, fighting against the Gondorians there as we go further and further down. Another unit of Erebor axes. And obviously, as you can see, the Dwarves themselves keep back a lot of their higher tier units like the Mansion Reclaimers and the Tomb Wardens. And yeah, them volleys are just solely focused on taking down the berserkers. Literally doing something that Legolas could not. Bring it down, bring it down, bring it down. For the most part, though, it does seem like the elves have been broken on the central part of the wall, though. The Lasglen blades and spears are running out of steam. That united Mordor slash Lindor attempt here is broken them pretty nicely. How's the fight down on this far right hand side? How are the men of the Hornburg doing? I mean, again, I do say they don't really have a lot of good infantry, but these Thanes are still decent mid tiers. Obviously they're not going to be the higher tiers like the Vineland Guard or anything of the the higher nature, but still they can definitely deal out some good damage to the Uruk Throng, and that's exactly what they are doing. However, they are finding themselves kind of sandwiched in between some of the Elven archers as well, who are fighting side by side with their Mordor ally. As we go further along down the wall as well, you can see some more battles. The gate itself is still being kind of held by the elves. However, it does seem like they've managed to kind of break through on this far right-hand side. We do have a unit of Citadel, but then, the servants are going to come in here. That is brutal stuff in the shadows of the settlement. The sun is no longer shining. And yeah, these guys are going to be struggling pretty heavily as they pull back out again. A nice little charge there. They should definitely see these two units broken, which is really valuable because they are extremely expensive. But I think along the battle line, they're doing good. I don't know. They're losing this left-hand side, obviously, but they've kind of cleared up kind of the central side. I think once they deal with the last of these Lasglen spearmen, they'll be able to reinforce against Rohan here and break these guys. I think this side is fairly under control with the cavalry constantly hammer and anviling. I think they'll break this quite nicely. We also have a unit of Orc Pillagers up here as well. One of the most cost-effective units, I think, in the game. I always like to bring a bunch of these guys to battle because they're just very, very worth it for their price cost. You know, they've very low armor. They can pack a punch, especially if you use them effectively. So yeah, this right-hand side is looking very secure so far, but obviously the majority of the focus is over here on the left-hand side, and we have now seen also the gate being smashed down. So the dwarfs moving in there. That dwarf's just skewering that horse as it runs out of the battlefield. Isengard have broken down here a little bit as well, now fighting Gondor. I do apologize as well. I hope the battle is not too dark for you guys, as the shadow sometimes does take up. And yeah, I'm at 2020 brightness. And, you know, obviously the Gondorians did waste, well, not waste, but they used a lot of their ammunition in the early game. So it's going to be pretty interesting. We do have a unit of the Pelargir Marines, though, lobbing in javelins into the side of the dwarfs as they assault. So they should be racking up a decent amount of kills as more and more reinforcements arrive into the battle as horses just flee through the ranks. And yeah, able to actually end up breaking that unit of variable spear guard. The walls are starting to crumble, I think. I think it's going to be hard for Gondor to reinforce. But soon enough, you know, if the attacking side focuses so heavily on this side, then, you know, obviously they can then just bring soldiers back after dealing with Rohan, after dealing to that kind of, I guess, semi-elven force that assaulted. They can just kind of bring back them reserves and really focus on holding this down. And you can already start to see it coming into play as the Gondor sword infantry are moving over. We have more Gondor swords there. Now they've broken the blades, they've broken Rohan here. So I think they can actually start to bring a lot of their army to the left. Obviously, they need to deal with these guys. And, you know, look at that Orc Pillager unit, did amazing. Lost 50 men and killed, you know, 120. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. And Rohan are just crumbling right now. Obviously, this cavalry showing its worth. Able just to run through these guys. Yeah, you can see the strength of these horses in a siege battle. It definitely does add up. And yeah, Rohan are just deciding to cut their losses. And this is going to be really bad for the attackers because it's basically going to pin them down to this section. However, we do have a unit of Elkin Riders who have broken their way into the city. These are the attacking horses. And just looking for some kills against the Gondor archers. We obviously have a unit of Fountain Guard on its way to try and reinforce this. And I imagine these archers will be rushing to cover. But right now, having some cavalry inside the city, unmatched right now, is going to be pretty good. Obviously, setting it after these archers, setting it after infantry. is going to be very, very valuable indeed. And the walls are now finally being taken. Obviously, they could send some more men up here, and I think it would be a very good idea to do so if they could sneak some infantry around. However, I don't know if they're going to be able to because, yeah, this section is obviously under assault pretty heavily, and there's going to be men routing. Yeah, I think the walls are about to be lost, so the attackers are only able to get their army inside the settlement. That collapses down and kills probably a ton of soldiers around it because that's Total War Artillery for you. We also have this unit of Phantom Guard getting hammered by arrow fire. But realistically, that's okay. These guys are fairly heavily armored, and you know, if they're going to waste their ammunition on you, it's going to be good. However, this is the dangerous thing. The Uruk-hai crossbowmen who are shooting directly down on the Fountain Guard. Oh my god, it's so dark. What's happening? There we go. Shooting directly into the backs of the Fountain Guard. Yeah, you can see they're the ones racking up the kills right now. And that's probably why they decided to get the hell out of there. But this has obviously left this position out. They have sent their forward their Pelargir Marines though to try and do some damage to the crossbows. And the Pelargir Marines are a very good unit. They're kind of like a hybrid javelin / sword and shield unit. So even though it does show them as a skirmish unit, they can still get stuck in. And obviously against crossbows, they'll do decent. Another tower going down as well. Not sure exactly where that was. We still have a lot of artillery left as well. But yeah, look at that right-hand side completely overrun. And we actually have the Servants of the Eye cavalry moving its way out. Looking to pick off these men of Rohan who are still kind of just like stuck out here. Obviously, we still have Theodred. But even Theodred is down to 33 men. So we need to be very careful. The Servants of the Eye cavalry does also need to be careful. But, I mean, what horse do they still have left now? Is there anything else? Yeah, I'd bring both the Servants of the Eye out here. Obviously, we also have to try and deal with this Elkin Rider unit. But I would just charge after these guys. Just smash the forces of Rohan in. The Elkin Rider unit deciding to fall back. Obviously could have gone after that unit of artillery, but would have definitely have seen itself done for. It's going to basically hit any of these units that are still moving in. A really nice charge there. Able to, yeah, completely smash in any moving units, and you can see ripping through them. Morale is dropping after that brutal cavalry charge. You never ever want to take a cavalry charge on braced. And yeah, as you can see, the attackers have now broken through this one section of the wall, but it is only one section of the wall, so you know, like, normally you want to be coming in from multiple sides, putting the defenders under so much pressure. Right now, though, the defenders can, you know, fall back. They can set up a pretty nice defense. Obviously, you have this unit of cavalry. It's going to make it out. But yeah, you can sit back and, you know, you're basically just holding, like, a couple choke points like that, or you're holding, like, here, or you're holding, like, you know, like this. Like, that's much better than having to worry about assaults coming in from, you know, this side, and this side. Then, you know, you're really under a lot of pressure. But right now, I think what we're seeing is the defenders simply just falling back and holding this line, which is very good. And obviously the enemy attackers are going to have to push up and try and secure this hill for them. Cavalry still being a nuisance. We also have the Mordor general charging in there, getting some good damage on the Uruk-hai, up to, you know, 30 kills probably by the end of that. However, he's going to find himself smashed in against the Elkin Rider, which isn't even a general unit. And yeah, the Mordor general has bridged too far right here, charging in once again against the Berserkers, because he's going to find himself completely surrounded with nowhere to go. Spearmen coming in from the Dwarves on one side. We have some archers moving in just to act as bodies. The Elkin Riders. Yeah, the Mordor general is definitely dead here, unfortunately. He is literally nowhere to go. And we'll be fighting to the last man. And one of the great things as well is if you can get shock infantry like the Berserkers into cavalry, they actually tear them apart. Normally the problem is that shock infantry can't take a charge from cavalry. They get massacred as they try and do that. But the shock infantry have such high damage and really good armor piercing that they can normally, if they can reinforce the cavalry fight, they do such a good job. And yeah, right now you just saw that the Servants of the Eye try to pull back, but the cavalry is just too dense in their back, and yeah, we're seeing that unit completely overrun. So just like there's going to be a bit of downtime right now as the attackers make their way inside the settlement and prepare to assault this inner layer. You can pretty much guarantee the Mordor general is dead, but he is taking down as many of them as he can. So let's jump ahead until the assault is ready to hit this inner layer. Okay guys, we are back, and now the attackers have made their way inside the settlement, but it is the defenders who will be charging out to try and take their pound of flesh. We had some artillery rounds ranged in. We also have some missile fire here, hammering the elven archers, looking to use that kind of height disadvantage, I guess, to their advantage. However, the elves are going to be returning fire very soon. They are taking a pounding as the artillery comes in. Man, that is absolutely epic. And yeah, they decide that this is probably not the best position, as an artillery gets a direct hit on them, and the Noldrin archers do decide to fall back. So as you can see, the attackers have decided to go in a two-pronged assault. One assault ready to go through here, and we have another one which is going to be pushing out there. We also have this unit of cavalry that's been kind of circling around, looking to try their best to do some damage, and this is a perfect opportunity. Unbraced infantry, the dwarves try their best to brace, and they do a decent job of it. If there was more of them, they'd definitely be able to hold these guys back quite effectively. Obviously, the cavalry's main goal is to try and get onto these airborne crossbowmen who are currently hammering away, and then what I can only assume is trying to take down these orc pillagers and any other shock infantry that sticks their way around, whether it is these guards of the teeth or anything else. Wow, when the hell did these guards of the teeth get 199 kills? What the hell did I miss? Were they over at the gatehouse over there, maybe? I actually don't know, because there's no bodies around here, so it's not like I missed anything here. So they must have been able to get some kills like over here, I can only assume. And you guys can see the destruction on this far left-hand side of as what has occurred during this battle. Pretty bloody, actually. And we also have some of the mansion reclaimers, the dwarfs, making their way inside of the settlement. Obviously going to have to be climbing up and then going their way down. But yeah, the main fighting is going to be over here, and this is a pretty good position, honestly, for the defenders. Numbers-wise, as we take a look at that, there's 3,800 attackers and 3,500 defenders, which is normally what you see around this point in the battle, honestly. The attackers have kind of thrown forward a lot of their weaker units, and now they're relying on their more elite ones. So that's where you generally see the units actually kind of even out a bit, even though the attackers obviously will also lose more men as they assault. They kind of also thin out their quality, so it just kind of been left with a lot more of the higher tier units towards the end of the battle. And obviously same as well for the defenders, but normally it's more in favor of the attackers, even if the numbers are getting quite close. And obviously do remember as well, a lot of them Urukai units which had 200 soldiers in would now be dead. But I guess same thing to say as well, along with the forces of Mordor as well. And that's one of the things you always have to be kind of careful of in these Rise of Mordor battles, is numbers aren't everything, because of the way that they've set up their unit balancing, with more units having, kind of the evil factions having a lot more in their units than the good guys, which always makes it very, very interesting and exciting. We have another unit of shock infantry back there, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was the focus point of a lot of the missile fire. Or has the elves returned fire, looking to punish them? And this is these are the Gondorian archers looking to punish them as they come up. Yeah, nice little volley right there. I mean, they have a good position aimed right down that road, and I imagine that their sole focus point will be to kill them pikemen. As you guys know, if you've played any Total War game, pikemen are always extremely scary, and allowing them to kind of sit idly by and just push their way forward is a death sentence for these defenders. Oh, there's some friendly artillery going out as well. What is that trying to aim on? Where the hell was that going? Was it going for the trying to counter-snipe artillery? I mean, at this point, it's probably not worth it. You're really trying to be focusing elsewhere. We also have a unit of archers being pushed out here, as you can actually make your way through this archway. Gondorian archers going out to engage other archers. I wonder if they made a nice little pack right there. More artillery coming out. Oh, maybe they're trying to snipe Theodred, but at this point, it's not really worth it. I'd save that artillery, or just use it on this huge clump of infantry here. Well, there's 2 units of swords and a unit of pikes here. I'd definitely be going for this, for sure. Baron Guard as well have been committed, but again, this is being hammered by arrow fire. They've not really been able to get into this game. The attackers have done a great job focusing down the units they need to focus on, and the pikes are able just to push their way forward inch by inch. Around the rest of the battlefield as well, you can start to see, the defenders are running out of men here and there. The gaps are appearing. Cavalry is still a massive nuisance. In terms of the eye unit, it has over 271 kills and has only lost a handful, 14 soldiers, and it looks like they're going to be able to maybe get another charge off, whether it is into these Hall Guardians, and they decide not to, or in a bit of a tricky situation. They're going to lose a handful of horses there, which is a real shame. But nice little move right there. But yeah, I mean, right now, honestly, what they could start to do is start to push down this street. Obviously, you know, there's Fountain Guard and there's Citadel Guard here, but if they're committing units here, then that allows them to start pushing through here. They're going to break through this eventually, and if they can cut off like this entire section of infantry right there, that'd be brutal. Obviously, all you have to do is, when you break through this section here, just set up a line here, have these guys push a line there, and when you've trapped all of these units, which would be absolutely brutal, it does seem like this unit Citadel Guard is going to be rushing. No? Oh my god, the defenders, what are you guys doing? The artillery comes in. That was a very nice hit of the artillery as well. But basically, yeah, thank god they're bringing the unit Citadel Guard out. They need to basically just retreat everything back up this hill. Like, right away. I mean, there's not even much, like, here in the way. They need to kind of commit more here. Set up like, a multiple battle line. Maybe, like, have a battle line, like, here with pikes and then have one, like, here. And have one, like, here. This right-hand side is very weak, considering it's about to be completely overrun. And we've got plenty of soldiers down here. You know, there's, like, 4 units of infantry just hiding here. And they're obviously immediately going to be coming around and making their way into the back here, routing these guys as the archers hold them off. The Hall Guardians doing an amazing job here. One of the craziest pike units in the entire game. I guess halberd units are not really pikes. Yeah, just slaughtering the orcs as I think they try and flee. Fountain Guard here obviously can outrange them, so it's obviously a good matchup. And obviously with missile fire coming in is also a great way to deal with them. I mean, but if I was a Fountain, I mean, don't get too close. There you go. Missile fire, pikes going in. Yeah, this is a really good matchup. If I was the Hall Guardians, I'd be running away. There's no way you're going to be a unit of Fountain Guard whilst also taking that many missiles as well. Does seem like, though, the Dwarven crossbows are being brought up as the cavalry continue to harass some Elkin riders, looking to get themselves around the side and then into the back. Really nice move here. Actually going to be going after, no, go after the infantry, break this. Yes. Unfortunately, the trees kind of blocking them in that charge. But a nice move there. That's exactly what you wanted to do. Because if you can just break their infantry, they're going to run out eventually. So at this point in the battle, missiles aren't really that important. It's all about creating gaps that you can exploit. And finally, we've got some good Dwarven Orc action. This is what I've been waiting for, you know, some good versus evil. Obviously, with the support of the Elkin Riders, they've been countercharged by the Servants of the Eye. Then the Servants of the Eye can be hit by missiles and other units, so not the end of the world. These crossbows, I imagine, will be focusing them down as more units do charge forward. The artillery is continuing to volley off here. Yeah, it's trying to counter-snipe the artillery, but at this point, it's like, what's the point, you know? And artillery did get a good shot there onto the Guardsmen and Ladris. But, you know, like, at this point, it's like, what's the point? It's one artillery piece. It's going to run out of ammunition soon. Kind of give it up. Guardsmen and Ladris being committed here. They do need to be careful, though, because once again, this section of the battlefield has been overrun. So, I feel like if I was the Dwarves right now, I'd commit a lot more of my infantry down this road. And, yeah, try. Because this is exactly what you want as the attackers, right? You want positions where you can strike at their sides, where they've committed a lot of soldiers. And they would have to retreat from here. They still have a decent amount of ammunition left. Then again, as well as that, you are also breaking through in the center. So, it's not like that's a bad thing either. Able to send back them Orc Pillagers. Now you have a unit of Dwarven Barrack Guard. This is a very, very scary axe infantry. These guys are breaking through now. Able to then smash the, yeah, you can see them smashing some of the Orc legions in the side. Obviously another unit coming in. And then obviously reinforcing the allies to the right-hand side. A nice little rear charge off onto them wounded Elven archers. And also sending forward some soldiers here as well. Oh no, why are they doing that? They're just charging Gondor archers directly onto halberds. Fountain Guard now coming in to finish off these brave 9 elves who march their way down the street. And we also obviously have the crossbows and archers hammering the Fountain Guard, trying to bring them down as much as possible. Luckily, the guards and Ladras have reinforced here, which is very nice. But honestly, all they have to really do is just, you know, one of these breach points will occur. Whether it's here, whether it's here, whether it's here. I mean, as soon as one of them occurs, they can then completely envelop and outflank the rest of the settlement. Not to mention as well, they are making very good progress up this hill. I think the attackers are looking very good for this battle, and I'm going to give my hat to them, as I think they've been able to claim this one. I don't really see the defenders coming back, but you know, you never know. You never know in these situations. They still have artillery left. But I think things are starting to get a little bit dire, especially up this main ramp, as the Dwarves start to commit their very, very elite infantry to this fight. Obviously, they still have a unit of Guardsmen just back there, so Halberds holding firm. They're still fighting tooth and nail against the Orcs of Mordor. But I simply just don't see them having enough to quite withstand this. And then obviously there's also the assault on the left-hand side as well. So yeah, I think they'll be breaking through here momentarily, and then that'll be GG. Because as I said, all it takes is one of these sides to break. All it takes is these crossbows to get around the side and start shooting into the, to start whittling them down. And there is only so much the Gondorians can do. More artillery comes, just ruining this element. Also, but I mean, the Citadel Guard over on this side have done a pretty good job, considering they're fighting some gnarly ass units out here. And obviously also some archers, which aren't necessarily as good. Cavalry coming in as well. I think this is Phaedra's party. He must be pretty wounded now. Only 38 kills on him, which is always a sad day when you see that. Also, you get some of the White Hand Stormers here as well. Ready to push in. But yeah, this position's going to break very soon. Crossbows coming in. And there we go. I think we now have it. The Fountain Guard are breaking. Over on this side, the Guards and Ladras with 100 kills are holding firm. This unit Citadel Guard has found itself surrounded, though. Pushed in against the pillars, fighting bravely. And they just do not have enough men over here. They put up a fairly good fight as the Dwarves commit more and more of their soldiers. And they obviously also have some of the Guards of the Teeth, one of the best halberds in the game. It will be more than a match to deal with these guys. Oh, artillery coming in, almost hitting with Aldrian Swordsman. But yeah, this right-hand side is broken, especially now that the cavalry has made its way through. The cavalry can now just run amok and start charging. Overall, though, a really close battle with only like 1,000 men in it towards the end. But obviously, having that cavalry coming in, opening up this flank has been brutal. I think they would have actually held here for some time if they didn't break elsewhere, with them halberds being able to keep them in check. Obviously, you're seeing the Mansion Reclaimers fighting the Nordrin Swordsman here as well. A nice way to end the battle. Dwarf versus Elf Violence. And I'm not sure who wins this matchup. I can only assume it's the Nordrin Swords for their shock infantry. But maybe the Mansion Reclaimers do a good job against them. I actually have no idea who wins a battle like that. Yeah, there you go. Some of the attackers are routing, but I think that's just Rohan right there. Nice little rear charge there. We do still also have this unit of cavalry, 7th VI cavalry with a fair amount of soldiers, but yeah, it's just not enough at this point, and we will be seeing a mass rout, I think, within the minute. We'll be seeing units breaking. But overall, a really exciting siege battle. It was nice to see that little sally out at the beginning. It was cool to see, the big fight over this swarm, and obviously the final stand as well being pretty epic. But just not enough in the end. The artillery, the numbers, the archers, just proving too much. With only 1,700 men in it, though, towards the end, not a bad showing whatsoever. They absolutely demolished the right and central flankage. There was just too much pressure on this left-hand side, and that really came back to bite them. So we'll take a quick look at the kills. Again, I'm pretty interested to see how many kills there. 7th VI, almost 300 kills. Guards of the Teeth, 200 kills. Pretty good. You guys can see the attacking side right there. Isengard not really racking up anything too crazy. The Elves, again, similar. Some cool Guardians, but that was about it. The Dwarves are probably the ones who got the most kills in this battle, doing very nice. 300 kills on that unit is pretty juicy. 170 on that one. 200 kills on the Tomb Wardens. And then obviously Rohan as well. Really took the brunt of the assault, but still managed to eke out some decent kills for them in the end. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that battle. If you did, make sure you drop a like and a comment down below. I'll see you guys in the next one.